Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to be working on this small cedar clump, root over rock, and my grass accent plant. My root over rock cedar planting happened naturally. The seeds just germinated on top of this rock and the roots grew down through the moss and they just grew all by themselves. And this was given to me about 4 years ago. And these seedlings are about 5 years old. The pot that my cedars are in, this blue pot, is just a temporary training pot. I thought a brown unglazed pot would look really good under this tree. It would match the color of the trunks really nicely. So at the last Toronto auction, I bid on some unglazed rectangular bonsai pots and I won them. And I also got a Christmas present from Derek from the Toronto Club. He bought me a pot also. So today I'm going to try out the pots in front of the tree to see how they look and pick a new pot for this planting. I last pruned up these cedars in July of last year, so they've grown a bit since the last pruning. Today I'm going to give them a little bit more of a trim to get them ready for spring. These grasses for this accent plant were given to me by David of the Toronto Club, and the pot is made by Wayne of the Toronto Club. You can see how it's grown quite wild. So today I'm going to clean this up. I'm going to remove all the dead grass shoots and trim up the new shoots and kind of create more of a landscape with it rather than just looking like a bit of a mess. Here is a look at the pots I have to choose from. I've got 1, 2, 3 pots here. I'm not sure what will look best under this planting, so let's try them out now. Here is a look at the smallest pot first, in front of it. I do like the color with it. It matches the trunk color nicely. It brings out the rock and the moss a lot. And when this foliage is in spring, it'll look fantastic. I'm not sure if it's large enough. You can see on the blue pot, the rock comes right to the edge of the pot here, and on this side also very close to the edge. So I think I had to put the rock kind of slightly diagonal to fit it in this pot. So I think, although this pot looks okay, I think it's just a little bit too small. I think it would have to be a little bigger. So let's try the next size now. Hopefully this doesn't look too big. So there is the next size. Quite large, but it allows me to, you can see the rock, it's steeper on this side, comes up, and it's sort of an asymmetrical triangle. So I can push the rock over in the pot to the right hand side a bit. So this kind of trails off and has a bit of landscape room here. And I think that's looking really nice. I think it gives it a more of a landscape feel. The blue pot it's in right now is very upright and tall, and I think it spoils the appearance. It's too vertical. This pot is about the right size. It's actually a good size. It gives me just a bit more room. Yeah, so I think this is going to be the pot for this tree. Now, this is a Japanese pot. You can see on the bottom it says made in Japan. So yeah, it's a nice quality pot. I think that looks good. Let's try the larger one out just to try it out. I think it'll look too big. And it does. It looks massive. It's the same height as the blue pot almost. It's just way too big. So that'll have to be saved for another tree. So this will be the pot for it. Now I can't repot it now. It's not close enough to spring yet, but definitely in the future you'll see it go in this pot, and I think it'll look fantastic. I think the color is good. The size is good. It's going to be a big improvement for this tree. So let's start working on the trees now. Once I find a pot for the tree, I always keep them together. So I will, just keep these together on the bench so I know in spring this tree goes in this pot. Makes it a lot easier. If I put this away with all the other pots, I'll forget what I was doing. I'm going to begin the work on the cedars by addressing this root. I've lived with this root for the last 3 years, and it's always bugged me the way they cross, like cross fingers, or someone cross legs or something, and it bugs me. And this root has continued to get thicker, and it's kind of sticking up out of the soil. You can see there's a gap in here, and it's always bothered me. So today I'm going to remove it. Now, removing a root like this could cause problems. I think it's attached to this tree, the main tree. I think it comes off. So it could cause a bit of dieback up the trunk. But, you know, a bit of deadwood on the trunk would be fine. It would eventually heal again. So today, I am going to remove that root. All right, here I go. So I'm going to come in and prune it off just kind of roughly at first. So here I go, big cut coming up. Done. You can see the root is loose now. So I also will cut it at soil level down here. Like that. So that root is now removed. And now I'll come in and try and make that a flush cut. Alright, let's see if I can get in there. I don't know if I can. I might get a little closer. A little bit. That's about all I can do. You can see I've nicked the other root a bit. But that'll heal. Okay, well, I guess that's it for the root work. While I'm down here at the roots, I'm going to remove some of these weeds. And I'll remove the moss from the base of the root system here. I think that's good. I'm going to begin pruning up the tree now. And you can see, you know, some of the branches are quite long. And if I didn't prune it back in spring, these branches would elongate even longer and they'd be totally out of proportion with the tree. I want to keep this tree into that, you know, tight conical form with a rounded top. I don't want it, you know, getting too wide. Otherwise, it doesn't look like a miniature tree at all, or a miniature cedar. So I need to prune it back and keep it compact. So I'm looking at the top. I'm going to start up here at the apex. I have kind of a woody apex here. There is another one I could use behind it, like that. Now, I've got a drooping branch here. This one kind of goes uphill still. I want my horizontal branches to be about 2/3 up the tree. So here's the height of the tree. Here's about 1/3. So this is where I kind of want to go horizontal. So everything above that will start going up. Everything below that, 2/3, will start drooping down. So I'm kind of at the horizontal level here. I've got one shoot that slightly droops and one shoot that slightly goes up here. I will prune this one back. So here's that area that's, you know, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 branches going from one whorl here. So again, I've got to simplify that. Now, I'm looking at the surrounding trees. If anything growing out this side is kind of shading out the tree behind, anything growing out this side is kind of interacting with this tree beside it. If I were to remove these branches, I'd have a big kind of empty hole here. So I think, you know, I've got a branch up here. I'm going to stagger it down here, so I think this one can be removed. I think that's good. And then I have a branch coming out straight out the front here. I don't want that. That's got to come off. Hopefully, you know, the tree won't look too sparse by the time I'm done today. There's one going out the back here. That's fine. Just have to make that more compact once I can see it. So I think that's got the main tree pruned up, apart from this back branch, which I'll deal with once I start pruning the surrounding trees. And it's looking good. It looks like a tall cedar growing on a rock. It's quite pleasing, I think. So next, I'm going to do my second tallest tree. So again, you know, I want that 2/3 height is where my branches will be horizontal. The ones above will come reach for the sky. The ones below will start drooping as a cascade. So here you can see this is where I want my horizontal branch, so I'll take off this vertical part like that. I've got good staggering here. They're getting quite vigorous. I'll have to prune them back. I'll prune up the other 2 trees in the planting using the same styling philosophy as I did for the first one, and then we can come back and have a look at the trees all pruned up and see how it looks. I have finished the pruning on all 3 trees. I'll show you how much foliage I took off, and then we'll have a look at the trees and evaluate the composition. Here is a look at what I took off the 3 trees. A fair amount considering they are very small trees. I did take them back kind of to the danger zone, I would say. Pruning them back very compact, hoping they leaf out nicely in spring. Here is a look at the 3 trees now, all pruned up, very tall looking and conical. I find the tree on the left-hand side, the slanting one, to be, it doesn't quite fit in with the other 2, being on the slant like that. Maybe it gives a more natural element to the planting, but I think I've got to find a better solution what to do with that tree, whether to make it smaller, shorter, or I think it's the space. I think, you know, these 2 trees are really tight together, and this one kind of grows out a bit. So I'll have to find a solution for that tree in the future. Decide what I'm going to do with it to try and make it a little more harmonious with the other 2 trees, so it doesn't kind of stand out as a slanting tree in an otherwise vertical composition. I don't think I can rotate it much. You know, if I rotate it, then all 3 trees, there's equal spacing between them, and I don't like that. It looks a little more boring. There's the back of the planting. Looks good from the back too. It's not a bad composition. Yeah, so there'll be future work coming on it. The next step, big step for this forest, is the repotting in spring into the new pot. Into this pot right here. I think it's going to look really good. Let's have a closer look at the planting now. So there it is. It's a very interesting rock. Even, you know, an angle like this looks pretty good. Having the rock kind of coming towards you. It's got a lot more depth. It's got a front tree, back one. It's interesting. You know, it could even work in this view. Maybe. I think even pruning off these branches on this side helps. It gives a more vertical feel to the tree. I think I better do that. I think I better remove these branches. I was hoping to kind of, you know, these counteract these ones over this side, but I don't think it works in the composition so well. I think it would look better without them, kind of having the tree go vertical. So I'm going to remove those branches. I think that's about all I can do to this tree for now. Maybe, you know, as this grows more vertical, maybe, you know, growing it up a little taller, I think it'll look better. Maybe this thicker one can come off in the future. A little shaping to come. But I think it's an improvement for now. I think all the trees look a little more tall and vertical. This one doesn't spread out so much to the one side. I always find that these small trees tend to take a long time to prune them up. There's a lot of branches on them and a lot of big decisions you have to make to keep them kind of tight and conical. Let's go on now to my grass accent planting and get that cleaned up. Here is a look at my grass accent plant, and I want it sort of like a miniature planting. You can see I have some space in here, some rocks in the planting, and there's a weed. Yeah, I want it so your eye can come in and explore it. I don't just want it like a boring clump of grass. I want it to look like a landscape that you could go in and explore. So my first step, I want to remove all the dead grass from last year. Just pull it out, leaving only the green grass. So I don't know what the best method of doing this is other than just pulling it out with your hands. I'm not really sure. Maybe a root rake, I'll try that. Maybe this will work. I don't know. I guess it kind of works. Gets a lot of it out. Yeah, that's working quite well. Just kind of rake it out. Okay, well, this is a good start. I've kind of got a lot of the dead grass out already. I think the next step is to prune away all the dead tufts. So here I go. Now, all this grass, I'm not sure where it's from. If it grew out here in the greenhouse over the winter, or if it's like from last year, the green part. And maybe this dead grass is from 2 years ago. I'm not sure. But I think I want to give it a bit of a pruning anyway. So I'm going to come in here, just kind of prune through my grass. Now I know, if this was to go in a show, you don't want cut ends of your plants showing. So maybe the idea is to trim this right back and then have it regenerate in spring with all fresh new tips on it for maybe a spring show. So I'll leave a bit of the green grass showing, but I'll prune it back quite short. I should have my curved scissors for doing this. I'll change to my curved scissors so I can kind of round the tops of them. Okay, I need to rake away all my debris now. Not my rocks, just all my debris. I'm going to add a little bit of moss to the planting. I think it'll be nice. Not totally mossing the surface, but just kind of clumps here and there. And it'll look like, you know, bushes and maybe some ground cover. And a few clumps at the back here too. I think that's enough. I think it's looking good. I'll give this a watering now. All right, here I go with the water. It's one of those days outside where it looks like it's snowing in slow motion. Let's head outside and I'll give you a look at that. Very quiet and peaceful out here. Here's a look at the grass planting. I think it's looking quite nice. It looks like a little landscape. It's kind of cool looking. If this were to go in a show, it would need some more cleanup, you know, a little more refinement. It'll be interesting to see what happens in spring with this, how it grows in, what it looks like, how tall the grasses get. Maybe I'll have to prune them and then let them grow a bit before the show. I don't know. I think this is the first time I've done kind of any spring work on this planting, so it's a new learning experience for me. But I'm quite happy with the results so far. I really enjoyed working on the cedars and my grass planting. And that is all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.